Microsoft bans Android phones in China, stolen passwords and phone numbers, and Affinity apps go free for a time. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by 1Password. More than just a password manager, now with extended access management. Find out more at onepassword.com/product/XAM. Well, let's move on to some happy news. Not really. We just learned some information about AI. Okay, we just saw a really example of how bad AI can be. I was kind of disappointed in this article from MacTrust because they're pointing out they phrase it as Apple caves to Russian government pressure, removes VPN apps from the Russian App Store. And most of the other websites just reported this as straight news. VPN apps removed the Russian App Store. This is really not a case of caving, I don't think, because now apparently these apps have been outlawed, and Apple has a reputation for complying with local governments or governments for the countries in which they operate. The only question I would have is, does Apple really see itself still operating in Russia? But I guess from an App Store standpoint, it does. So, Mark, you said in our private chat, clickbait.
I agree with that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, casting Apple as somehow weak or kowtowing, is bait is certain to get an emotional response and get people to go in and click.
Yeah. Ben?
Apple honestly has two options here: comply with the law or remove themselves from the market. So
there is a third option,
which is
they could no longer make themselves the sole source of software for the platform.
How does that help?
This is because, for example, Apple could not do there could not be an article that says Apple caves to Russian pressure to remove VPN apps from Macintosh, because Apple can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Those apps can be downloaded by anybody directly from the web. So, this is a consequence of the fact that Apple has set themselves up as a choke point, which governments can go after in this way. So this is an aspect of the fact that Apple is made themselves a gatekeeper. So that provides a target for governments to say, you've got to be our enforcement arm.
Interesting point. Our resident contrarian, Marty Jencius, has a thought.
Yeah, I read the article and thought, okay, so they kicked 25 or so of these VPNs out. I'm really curious which ones the Russians didn't have a problem with them kicking out. And I say that because, it might say something about their accessibility to those apps and what information they could be getting through the VPNs.
Are there any? I mean, by asking the question, that doesn't mean there are any. Do you know for a fact that there are others?
No, I don't.
There are approved VPN apps in Russia. The apps that are approved, and sorry, I can't give you a list of them off the top of my head, but I do know the criteria. So a VPN can be approved for use in Russia if it also blocks access to the sites that Russia deems it appropriate. So there are apparently at least some VPNs that do block the content that Russia requires to be blocked.
Jeff, I think you would always have to have a full-time staff, because the Russian government has a full-time staff checking this stuff. So if you had a VPN and that was the requirement, you'd have to be revising things on an hourly basis, if not faster.
I would not want to have a business where I'm trying to sell VPNs in Russia.
Great.
I think it would just be a horrible headache.
I think that, VPN, they may be VPNs that are actually hosted in Russia, and they could well be VPNs that are actually like run by the FSB.
That seems totally plausible.
Yeah, because look, at the end of the day, somebody has access to your traffic. You can protect yourself all you want from your local ISP or the bad guys that are hanging around the coffee shop, but at the end of the day, somebody is the other end of that tunnel to take you out into the internet. And so you just have to be aware of that and do your research, and don't just buy Joe's bargain basement VPN. That's just not a good idea. So, okay, so this is going to be a fun night. There's just all kind of crazy things going on. But this one, Microsoft is requiring their employees now to use iPhones. They're banning Android for Microsoft employees in Japan.
In China.
In China, sorry. Japan. Sorry, in China. If you look up irony in the dictionary, you see a picture of this story. I love this story.
Yeah, who knew that irony and pragmatic were alphabetically side by side in the dictionary?
And at the risk of beating a point that we've talked about so often, what does this say about the security of Android phones versus iPhones?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it again. Google is not an operating system company. They are not a software company. They are an advertising company.
Yeah. I mean, go back to Huawei's phones that got banned in the United States. Go flip it onto that side. They were banned because, the U.S. government's not trusting that anything in those phones could be spying on you because it's from China. And Huawei has still been a successful company selling lots of phones across the rest of the world, and didn't really care that a large country like the United States isn't giving them business. But my point is the fact that we also have to say that Android operating systems are not trustful at all. I mean, you can't, you really can't. The Google Play Store is the Wild West. You just don't have the security that there need be. People sit and complain about Apple and iOS, and they're locked down, not proprietary, and not able to get to things because they protect us.
Yeah. Cletus in the chat room says, speaking of secret police.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cletus. Mark, you had some data to share.
Yes, this comes from Microsoft Copilot. I asked it how many employees Microsoft has in China, and it went away and thought for a while and came back and says 9,000.
Wow.
I don't know. You use data and an LLM in the same sentence. Not sure that goes.
Well, Jim, I think it's different than asking a creative number, because on things where it's trained, where it has information, I found that they're pretty good reciting information that they've seen, and it also has links at the bottom. So that's something I would put more trust in, for example, than here's an article, rewrite it.
Yeah.
So could we rewrite this article to say China causes iPhone supercycle?
Maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, let's see here.
Okay, let me have a little fun. Let me see if I can if Edge will rewrite that article. I know I can send ChatGPT to web links and ask it to summarize it and things, it will do that. But
Marty,
it's thinking. So keep talking. I'll come back to you when I have a response.
David,
please rewrite this. Are you saying please rewrite this article? Is that what you're saying?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Marty, we're giving you a lot of fodder for your Macstock presentation.
You're giving me a lot of anxiety about my Macstock presentation.
Well, no thanks.
You're getting everybody all ginned up to tell me about how much trouble we're all going to get in with AI.
We knew that going in, even before all this. I mean, let's face it. I mean, AI is going to be, it's going to have its challenges. It's going to have its value.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. It came back with, okay. I'll paste in the chat room. It came back with stuff that's completely off topic.
Okay.
And there you go, right there. AI is, yeah.
And it says nothing about China or anything else.
All right, Mark, just because you know me, I'm a troublemaker.
Go ahead.
I decided to launch LM Studio, where I'm running a local model.
Okay.
And I had to wait because it had to update everything, so I have current info. And I asked it, how many employees does Microsoft have in China? And the answer that it gave me is, as of 2021, Microsoft has over 18,000 employees in China, with a presence in major cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, and Zhangzhou.
But that was as of 2021.
2021. Maybe it dropped since.
But it's higher. I doubt.
It seems unlikely that it's half.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Interesting.
If we ask it later tonight, we'll be down to like 3 employees.
Right. And they will all be named Christina Warren, Brett Terpstra, and Kelly Gumont.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Well, hey, I've got good news for you. You no longer have to worry about any of your passwords being stolen, because they already have been.
Oh, cool.
Lifehacker says that hackers have posted now have access to 10 billion stolen passwords. What are the odds are that they have yours?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to put my password there.
Yeah.
To find out.
5 billion of them are password, and the other 5 billion of them are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
8.
Yeah.
Good point. That helps. That helps.
And Marty, you forgot the most secure. Let me in.
Yeah.
My password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's solid.
Yes, that helps.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Okay, so the numbers in the article are correct. I haven't read this specific article, but so what that means is I don't know if they clarified what this number actually means. This is additional username and passwords that are added to a database that had already been published by the person or organization operating under the name of a person had released previously. So it's not like we have 10 billion new pieces of information leaked. It's like 1.9 billion pieces of information that have been added to this database. That is not to minimize the number here, because we are talking about numbers that start with billion. That is a metric crap ton of logins. So yes, it's a big number. Yes, you probably have credentials that are included in this database. So head over to haveibeenpwned.com, put in your username that you use for whatever, and see what comes up.
Jeff,
And
are you?
you'll be surprised to see that your email address is included in a lot of data breaches.
So Jeff, I was going to ask on this. The article I read just said they have a list of passwords. They didn't say anything about having an association with user accounts. So, are you skipping a groove here, or have you seen other information that says no, they actually have association of username and password?
That's a really good question, and I might be misremembering. I thought it was a mix where it was usernames and passwords and just and just passwords. But it's possible I'm mistaken, and and if so, then sorry about that. And still 10 fracking billion. Holy crap.
Yeah, which makes me also ask: has it been deduped, or is it just password?
That's a good question. I do not know if it's been deduped.
Marty, Mark, wait a minute. So you're asking for quality control in hacked passwords. This is disturbing.
Hey, if you're going to pay for it, it should have quality control.
Oh, I have a great Michael Dell quote. where he said, if you have no data, you have no AI, and if you have bad data, you have bad AI.
Marty.
Yeah, well, I personally can account for three. The three passwords that I use for everything accounts probably in that 10 million list. But I was thinking biometrics. I get more and more impressed with biometrics, particularly with the Vision Pro headset, the retinal kind of scanner that they use for eyesight to get things unlocked, but also two-factor authentication. As much as it, when I first started doing two-factor authentication, it's like, oh, I got to do this again for everything. But now, the more I've had to do it, the more it kind of naturally falls into a workflow. So,
Web?
I don't have much to add here. I've been playing around and doing a lot of research on passkeys, and I do use a password manager. I won't say which one password manager I use, but so I've just been trying to use that. I've been having some issues with one of the big services that you have to use a password on, and been using my passkey a lot. It's been very helpful. So I don't know enough about the security of it, even though I understand it's a lot more secure than just 1, 2, 3. Well, Ben's password, which by the way, Ben, I did write that down. Just so I can
yes, it's a kind of password an idiot has on his luggage.
So anyway, like I said, I just I've been playing around with passkeys, and I'll just leave it there. So,
Brian?
Yeah, just similar to what Webb was mentioning with the passkeys. Just checking to see, is the password that you're using, is it one that's been leaked in some data breach, and then I like the idea too of it mentions using a password manager. It's so helpful. I don't know most of my passwords because I put them into a password manager and I don't need to, and make them complicated enough, make them long enough. A combination of that and two-factor authentication, using a unique password for every credential, every login is helpful. That way, if you do end up with a hack, it's one particular slice of part of your life, not the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, the bad news is our next story, since you guys were all talking about two-factor authentication, Authy has now told its users to stay alert after 33 million phone numbers were exposed. Yeah. I mean, it just keeps going and going,
Like the Energizer Bunny of bad news.
I'm going to quit watching this show. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm not sure if this will make you feel better or worse, Webb, but since we seem to be on a hacking spree here, hackers apparently reverse engineered Ticketmaster's barcode system to unlock resales on other platforms.
Finally, they do something good.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the third week in a row we've had a Ticketmaster story, and unfortunately, none of them have been in Ticketmaster's favor.
Nothing's in favor of them.
No.
I don't have a choice. I want to go to the Chiefs football games. I got to use Ticketmaster to get in the stadium.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And Webb, I mean, you're being a little flip, but
by the way, they did win the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. I just want to throw that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
My wife's a Chiefs fan as well, so I had to take her to a Chiefs game when they're out here in New England. So that was a fun experience. And of course, the Chiefs won that game. So
yeah,
breaking news.
Webb was probably there. Yeah. But it is interesting, and you start to understand the arguments about monopolies when you see something like this. And when there is no competition, then where's the incentive to be good, to be paying attention to some of this stuff and not to abuse it? So I think it's important to know what's going on out there. But believe it or not, we do have some good news. Webb, you're going to just be jumping through hoops on this because some of the Affinity apps are now free to use for 6 months. Thank you. I was expecting somebody to give me a positive reaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gotten
Gamet recommended that I get Photomator, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gotten that information like a month ago when I bought the suite. I did buy it for half price, but I could have used 6 months free.
Well, but you know what? I think this is really interesting given all the talk we've had again over the past few months about Adobe and Photoshop and some of the competitors. And I don't mind telling you, I use for and pay for Affinity, and I'm very happy to do so because I primarily Affinity designer, but I've used the Affinity Photo and even delved into Affinity Publisher, and it is just great software. The fact that they're throwing it out there for 6 months for free, I think if anybody tries it and takes the time to work with it, I think they're going to become longtime customers. So it's an interesting strategy.
Yeah.
No demo, no watermarks. Just you get to use the software for 6 months.
Their timing is not by chance. And just to be clear, I have been using the Affinity suite for years, and even as recently as a few hours ago, I did stuff in Affinity Photo and Affinity Publisher, and a couple days ago I was in Affinity Designer, and I paid for the apps. But okay, so here's the timing on this. We just had the whole big kerfuffle with Adobe and licensing ownership rights to content you're creating, and now as the dust supposedly starts to settle from that, Seraph shows up and says, "Hey, our Affinity suite of apps, you want them 6 months for free?" That's a really smart marketing move, because there are a lot of people that are looking for alternatives to Creative Suite right now. Many of those people would not consider trying anything else just because they don't want to spend the money. But now they can try it for free and decide if it's going to work for them.
Yeah. And it's a nice long time period to try.
Yeah, this is way better than a week.
Yeah.
You remember when Apple gave us all Apple TV Plus for free and just kept giving it to us for free and giving it to us for free? And when they started paying, I don't think there were many people that dropped it, because we had been using it for so long, we were kind of hooked. Give someone 6 months access to tools like this. At the end of 6 months, if it clicked for them, they've probably switched their workflow over, and going back is not the kind of pain they want to go through. Because doing a switch over, regardless of how compatible you are with Creative Suite, there are going to be pain points and frustrations. Why would you want to go through those pain points and frustrations to go back?
Yeah, this is smart.
Yeah. And to Affinity's credit, according to the article, the company is making it seamless to test out the Creative Suite with no credit card details needed to start the trial.
Wow.
I mean, that's the kind of company you want to support, because they're not counting on, oh, well, I did my 6 months and I forgot, and so the subscription just keeps rolling, or the purchase keeps rolling. So good on Seraph. And again, if you want to support somebody like with this kind of software, take a good hard look at these folks.
It definitely raises my curiosity for them, because admittedly, because of school we had free use of Adobe, so I'm very familiar with using Adobe Photoshop and Premiere. But just hearing about this deal right now, Affinity, it's definitely attracting me just to try them out, just to download it, see what it's like, and just kind of prod out the software and see how it is in comparison to what I was used to before. So it definitely, this is really helpful to just introduce people that may not have heard about it before, including myself, where it's like, oh, okay, there's more options out there, obviously, but it's good to get your feet wet, especially for no credit card commitment in 6 months. That's definitely really good.
Yeah. So
yep. Let me just clarify something real quick. I asked Jeff a year and a half ago, I think, about an alternative to Photoshop, and he gave me 3 or 4 recommendations, and I choose Photomator. So I don't mention Jeff disparagingly. It was a very good choice, and I like it a lot. So
Photomator is a great tool.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you are someone who wants something that is very easy to use.
But Ben, that to me is exactly the sort of the point here. Is this software is on the level of Adobe, Photoshop, or Illustrator. There are a number out there that, and taking nothing away from them, they're not. They're supposed to be a little more simple and a little more approachable, and that's fine. And there's some others that are on the level of Adobe. So this is a very rich market. I've at some point it's going to have to shake out, but a company like this is somebody I would think I would want to support if they're giving me the software that is at a level I need to use it. And for me, they are, no question about it. So Webb, we gave you one good story.
Yeah, good on them. Seriously,
how about if we give you another one? This is sort of a follow-up to our discussion last week about web scraping. That Cloudflare is taking a stand against AI website scrapers. The only downside is that this could. The subtitle is "The move might stem the wave of generative AI legally and illegally crawling for content." So, I guess you can't deploy the weapon without it having, casualties on both sides. But
That's
at least somebody's
not
trying to do
exactly
something.
right.
Okay, Jeff, educate us.
Okay, so the way Cloudflare's tool works, you can set it so that it's blocking the scrapers. But if there are specific sites you want to whitelist, you can do that.
But who's doing the whitelist?
You.
Cloudflare? You. So if I whitelist something that doesn't want to be scraped, I could still scrape it, is what you're saying.
You can whitelist your site for scrapers.
Ah, okay.
It's not like you have control over what the crawlers and scrapers are doing on someone else's site.
Okay. So just again, so you know, more AI news. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.